Hi everybody, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a librarian at AADL, and I, over the course of the pandemic, have been sharing a series called Quarantine Reads, where I just kind of review some of the varied books that I've been reading while we're all at home. And I really love talking about books, and I love when we were at the library, I loved talking about books with patrons. So I definitely have been missing that. And it's been really fun for me to just share some of my book reviews with folks via video this way. So I'm back today with some more reviews. When I first started this series, I kind of tried to do a little theme each time I did this, but I read such diverse books that it didn't really work. So this is a mixture of fiction and nonfiction, all genres, and it's just kind of what I've been reading lately, and I just hope you enjoy, and maybe you'll get an idea for a book or two that you want to place on hold or check out from the library. So I'm going to start today with I'm going to start actually with this. This is a fiction book, Utopia Avenue by David Mitchell. And some of you might recognize his name. He wrote Cloud Atlas and The Bone Clocks, which were both bestsellers. And this is a new book, pretty new at least. I believe that it was published either at the end of 2020. So quite new, and it's the story of a fictional rock band in 1960s England. And typically what I do is I just read the publisher's summary, and then I kind of give my feedback on it. So I'll do that here first. It says, Utopia Avenue is the strangest British band you've never heard of. Emerging from London's psychedelic scene in 1967 and fronted by folk singer Alf Holloway, blues bassist Dean Moss, and guitar virtuoso Jasper de Zoet, Utopia Avenue embarked on a meteoric journey from the seedy clubs of Soho to a TV debut on Top of the Pops, the cusp of chart success, glory in Amsterdam, prison in Rome, a fateful American sojourn in the Chelsea Hotel, Laurel Canyon, and San Francisco during the autumn of 1968. David Mitchell's kaleidoscopic novel tells the previously untold story of Utopia Avenue's turbulent life and times, of fame's Faustian pact and stardom's wobbly ladder, of the families we choose and the ones we don't, of voices in the head and the truths and lies they whisper, of music, madness, and idealism. Can we really change the world, or does the world change us? So this is a big book. It is a bit of a commitment to read. Weighs in here 571 pages. I have not read Cloud Atlas or The Bone Clocks. I was just intrigued by the storyline of this. And I have to say, I found it really immersive. David Mitchell is British, and he captures the different, I forget what they call them there, but the different accents of people in different parts of England really well. So when the band is in Wales versus when the band is in London, when the band is in Southern England, it's really, you kind of get, you feel very immersed in the scene. The four main characters in the book, which are the members of the band, are all really different, and the novel is third person, but you really kind of get to see inside each of their heads and get their perspective on each of their perspectives on different events. And it's an interesting book, I mean, the reading about a band that's kind of just about to become famous in the 60s is really a fun thing to do, in my opinion. I mean, that's just a fun topic, and it's really believable. I mean, Utopia Avenue is a fake band, but it's completely a believable story. And David Mitchell does a really interesting thing where he peppers the story with actual real characters that they encounter and also fictitious characters. So, for example, they meet like Ringo Starr at one point, but then they also meet a different fictitious character that is maybe based on someone from the Rolling Stones, kind of, but not. So it's kind of interesting to hear about real people and then also fictitious people. And it's funny in parts. It's very sad in parts. And it's just kind of a really believable story, actually. I ended up really enjoying it. It took me a while to get through because it is big, and I think it's not gripping in the sense that you can't put it down. I think it takes a while when you do start reading it to like become really immersed in it, even though it is an immersive book. So a lot of the time I would have to wait until I had like a full hour to sit down and read so that I could really get into it. But I would recommend it. It's, if you like music, if you like books set in England, it's very British in my opinion. It was good. It was, parts of it were sad and all that, but it was really just the story of a band, and I enjoyed it. It really took me out of the present day and kind of launched me into a time that is gone. So that's Utopia Avenue. Would recommend. This next one is nonfiction. I'm sure many people have heard of this. This is Glennon Doyle's Untamed. This has been a bestseller. It was published in March of 2020. So you may have heard about this, but I just actually finished it, and I will read you the summary here. There is a voice of longing inside every woman. We strive so mightily to be good mothers, daughters, partners, employees, citizens, and friends. We believe all this striving will make us feel alive. Instead, it leaves us feeling weary, stuck, overwhelmed, and underwhelmed. We look at our lives, relationships, and world and wonder, wasn't it all supposed to be more beautiful than this? We quickly silence that question, telling ourselves to be grateful. We hide our simmering discontent even from ourselves until we reach our boiling point. 4 years ago, Glennon Doyle, best-selling Oprah-endorsed author, renowned activist and humanitarian, wife and mother of 3, was speaking at a conference when a woman entered the room. Glennon looked at her and fell instantly in love. 3 words flooded her mind. There she is. At first, Glennon assumed these words came to her from on high. Soon she realized they came to her from within. Glennon was finally hearing her own voice, the voice that had been silenced by decades of cultural conditioning, numbing addictions, and institutional allegiances. This was the voice of the girl Glennon had been before the world told her who to be. She vowed to never again abandon herself. She decided to build a life of her own, one based on her individual desire, intuition, and imagination. She would reclaim her true, untamed self. Soulful and uproarious, forceful and tender, Untamed is both a memoir and a galvanizing wake-up call. It offers a piercing, electrifying examination of the restrictive expectations women are issued from birth, shows how hustling to meet those expectations leaves women feeling dissatisfied and lost, and reveals that when we quit abandoning ourselves and instead abandon the world's expectations of us, we become women who can finally look at ourselves and recognize, there she is. Untamed shows us how to be brave. As Glennon Doyle insists, the braver we are, the luckier we get. So that is Untamed. Maybe you've heard of Glennon Doyle. She's written several other best-selling books. Love Warrior and Carry On Warrior are her 2 other titles. I know a lot of people love this book, and I didn't dislike it. I thought there were some really powerful, it's a series of short essays here. Some of them are as short as 1 page. Some of them are closer to 6 pages. I thought there were some really powerful passages, especially on child rearing, and especially on kind of looking inside yourself for guidance rather than letting the world tell you who to be or what to do. I thought the essays on those were really powerful. I felt like some of it seemed like a very specific journal of her life, and I felt like there wasn't much to some of this. It seemed just like it was her diary, and I think that that's fine, but I wasn't sure some of the passages that she chose to publish, simply because I didn't think that they had much universally relatable to people that weren't going through her very specific experiences. So some of this I struggled to get through a bit just because I didn't find anything in it for me, nor did I find her expressing any sort of universal truths that could be applicable to readers in general. She does have a very interesting story, and she's overcome a lot. But I guess it just kind of was really up and down for me. She also has a tendency to write, she'll say like, and I said, and then she'll write like 6 paragraphs of what she said in a situation, which doesn't work in my mind the way that I read. I don't know, it just doesn't quite work for me. I guess that's weirdly specific. So this one was a struggle for me, and I need to talk to some more people about it. I thought there were some moments of real wisdom and beauty, and also some moments for me of just finding it a little bit boring and a little bit confusing what the point was of certain parts of this. So it's, I guess I think if you wanted to read it, if you're interested, you definitely could. I can't say I'm going to be handing it out to people. So I think maybe also if you have more, if you're in a spot in your life where maybe you feel like you're really struggling and you really need some bolstering, and you really need someone to remind you that you have power in you and you have, the right thing to do inside you, this might be a comforting book to read in times like that. So that's Untamed, Glennon Doyle. It was a bestseller. I'm sure you've seen it. I have 2 more. If you are not a fan of swearing, you might want to skip this next book. This is Lindy West's latest. It is called Shit, Actually. Lindy West is the best-selling author of both the book Shrill and the book The Witches Are Coming, which are 2 other nonfiction titles. This one is really hilarious. This is essays that she's written about movies. And I enjoyed The Witches Are Coming, and when I saw that this was coming out, I put it on hold just because I was curious. I like her writing style. I think she's a really talented writer. I'm not a really big movie buff, though. I haven't seen very many movies, so I wasn't sure what I would think of this. I thought I'd just give it a try. Let me read you the summary, and then I can say more. Your favorite movies rewatched. New York Times opinion writer and best-selling author Lindy West was once the in-house movie critic for Seattle's alternative news weekly, The Stranger, where she covered film with brutal honesty and giddy irreverence. In Shit, Actually, Lindy returns to these roots, re-examining beloved and iconic movies from the past 40 years with an eye toward the big questions of our time. Is Twilight the horniest movie in history? Why do the zebras in The Lion King trust Mufasa, who is a lion, to look out for their best interests? Why did anyone bother making any more movies after The Fugitive achieved perfection? And my God, why don't any of the women in Love Actually ever talk? From Forrest Gump, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and Bad Boys 2, to Face Off, Top Gun, and The Notebook, Lindy combines her razor-sharp wit and trademark humor with a genuine adoration for nostalgic trash to shed new critical light on some of our defining cultural touchstones, the stories we've long been telling ourselves about who we are. At once outrageously funny and piercingly incisive, Shit Actually reminds us to pause and ask, how does this movie hold up? While teaching us how to laugh at the things we love without ever letting them or ourselves off the hook. So I ended up loving this. I was laughing out loud. I actually read 2 of the essays, the one on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and the one on Face Off, to my partner out loud while we were driving. Lindy West is just really funny, and the way that she watches these movies that many of us have seen is just hilarious. And she points out things. We all know that there's plot holes in movies and that some things are kind of goofy or over the top, or they kind of are unbelievable. But she points out things that even I hadn't really thought about. And it's a really delightful book. It's a light read. It's a quick read. It's something you could pick up and read one chapter of and then put down for a while and pick up another one. I will say, like I said, I don't watch a lot of movies. Film is not really I wouldn't consider it a hobby of mine. I'm much more of a reader. But even the essays on the movies that I hadn't seen, I enjoyed. They weren't as funny to me as the ones on the movies I had seen, but I enjoyed everyone in this book, and I thought that those were funny too. My two favorites were the essay on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which was hilarious, and the one on Face Off, the two that I read my partner. But there's some really good movies in here. Like we said, it's a good range. There's The Fugitive. That one was a good one too. Forrest Gump, The Lion King, Twilight, Tim Allen's The Santa Claus. It's a really just good range of movies. It's not all one genre, and she just makes some hilarious points about these movies that so many of us have seen. And I don't know, I would highly recommend this. Quick read, easy read, light read, and you will laugh out loud. I don't laugh that much at books, and this one I was actually like cracking up. So definitely recommend this one. And lastly today, I have a thriller here. This is The Flight Attendant. I do not know how to say this gentleman's last name. He's a pretty well-known writer. Chris Bojalian is what I'm gonna go with. This is a thriller. It came out, I think it's a couple of years old. Let me find out. 2018. So, anyway, I guess I'll read the summary and then we can talk about it. Cassandra Bowden is no stranger to hungover mornings. She's a binge drinker, her job with the airline making it easy to find adventure, and the occasional blackouts seem to be inevitable. She lives with them and with the accompanying self-loathing. When she awakens in a Dubai hotel room, she tries to piece the previous night back together, already counting the minutes until she has to catch her crew shuttle to the airport. She quietly turns over in bed, careful not to aggravate her already pounding head, and looks at the man with whom she spent the night. She sees his dark hair, his utter stillness, and blood, a slick, still wet pool on the sheets. Afraid to call the police, she's a single woman alone in a hotel far from home, Cassie begins to lie. She lies as she joins the other flight attendants and the pilots in the van. She lies on the way to Paris as she works the first-class cabin. She lies to the FBI agents in New York who meet her at the gate. Soon it's too late to come clean or to face the truth about what really happened back in Dubai. Could she have killed him? And if not, who did? Set amid the captivating world of those whose lives unfold at 40,000 feet, The Flight Attendant unveils a spellbinding story of memory, of reckless self-disregard, and of murder far from home. So I loved the premise of this story. I thought it was really clever. This flight attendant is an alcoholic, and whenever she visits foreign cities, she typically just goes out and parties and often picks up men and takes them home, and she doesn't always black out, but sometimes she does. And this instance that starts the book is one of those nights. So she wakes up next to a dead man and has no idea what happened. She has no memory. So that I just thought that was a really interesting premise. And the book is exciting and pretty well written, I think. I think that there were a few issues I had, namely the ending. It happens very suddenly. It happens over the course of like 3 pages. It's not really explained. At least I did not pick up on if there were clues earlier in the book about that. And it doesn't quite make sense. So that was disappointing for me because I had actually been pretty intrigued in the book up to that point. And then the final page is a little bit trite. It kind of like all ties up super neatly, which I didn't think made a ton of sense. And I felt that the book dealt with alcoholism a little bit incorrectly. At the end, I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, but at the very end, Cassie does quit drinking, but she just wakes up and decides that she's never going to drink again. And I think that kind of is inaccurate for the struggles that many people who suffer from alcoholism have to go through to quit drinking. It's pretty unusual that a severe alcoholic would just wake up and be like, well, I'm done. So I thought that was a little handled poorly. Um, Other than that, it's really fascinating. I mean, the life of a flight attendant is a fascinating thing to read about, whether there's a murder involved or not. And those scenes were super interesting, the going to the airport and what they do over the course of a flight and what it's like to spend the night in a foreign city but then get back to work the flight home. It talks about like how they bid for different cities. So, the more seniority you have, you really want to bid to fly into a really nice city that you like or to a particularly nice airport or whatnot. So the airline travel and the life of a flight attendant was actually my favorite part of this book. And if you're at all interested in that, I think this would be worth reading just because it's so fascinating. And like I said, the premise was really interesting to me. I thought that was a fascinating way to start a story, to have a witness to a murder be there, but just not have any memory of what happened. If you like thrillers, this is a quick read. If you're looking for a thriller, nothing's really grabbed you, I might give this a try. I didn't regret reading it. The ending was a bit dissatisfying, so just keep that in mind. But if you read it, maybe you will pick up on more throughout the course of the book than I did, and the ending will seem to make more sense to you. So that is The Flight Attendant. And that is what I have for today. So just to review, along with that one, we did Shit Actually, Lindy West's essays on some modern cinema, Glennon Doyle's Untamed nonfiction book, kind of memoir slash, I guess I would just say memoir. And then fiction, Utopia Avenue by David Mitchell, about the British band in 1960s England. So if you're interested in any of those, give them a try. The library does have all of them. And I hope to be back soon in a few more weeks with some more quarantine reads. Have a great rest of your day.